for the HRA, EDA, that one?
Hmm?
For HRA, EDA or what?
No, this thing.
Oh, okay.
She might have
I
given
must have,
you,
yeah.
she might have given you mine.
Yeah.
So I just had to change my mileage.
Thanks for asking.
I had a bunch of this. Changing my underground. Well, but yeah, you.
Okay, we do have 10 o'clock. We'll call the meeting order and we will rise for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we do have public forum. Members of the public are invited to speak after being recognized by the chair. Speakers should approach the podium and speak into the microphone. Speakers should state their name and limit comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may not share minutes with other speakers. I think we have one. Yep, come on forward. And name and where you're from.
My name is Doug Bleckinger, City of Bruno Mayor. These are just some information packets I brought. Years ago, a contractor in Bruno started a small subdivision on the west side of Bruno with 12 half-acre lots. He hauled over 500 loads of sand and gravel in to build 2 roads with city approved. Now the lots are selling, and the building has started, and county has decided that part of this property is a wet meadow or wetlands. I have a few issues with that. One, this land is some of the highest elevation property in Bruno and is not on any wetland map. It has been an active hayfield for the last 50 years. 2, this work was done over a period of 3 years. I don't think the county acted timely in its determination. 3, the TAP meeting that was called to assess the property only had 2 members present, which makes me question whether it was a valid meeting. Not so much because of the technicality, because the other TAP meetings that I've been to were always a collaboration. We discussed it and came to a conclusion. I mean, the people that were there, I didn't see that here at all. That didn't happen. 4, 2 of the 3 plant species that were cited by the assessment were found in the ditches created by the contractor for the roads. Each of these road ditches should be considered additional wetlands constructed by the contractor. And then the 5th one that really irritates me is the appeals process states that 500 should be sent to EWSR, the entity that was involved with the initial assessment. They will make the determination the appeal has merit. How is this not a conflict of interest? It's the same people that did the initial one. just checking their work, you know they're gonna rubber stamp it. An independent assessing committee should determine if the initial determination has merit. This assessment was done with the intention of finding fault. It was confrontational from the beginning to the end. When I asked why we needed to be here, if the land was not on any wetlands map, I was told that the map was just there as a guide. So why is the county creating more wetlands instead of working with cities and contractors to put up affordable housing since we are in such short supply? The 6-unit motel in Bruno is full of long-term renters because these people can't find housing. I'm continuously frustrated by the county's lack of support for communities that are trying to grow and build new housing. From delayed septic inspections up to 9 months, to wetland determinations that make it hard for any building to happen. Bruno really needs his housing, and the reduction in local government aid and the adjustment for MPNL. We're down over $10,000 per year in income. That may not sound like much until we realize our annual income is less than $50,000 a year. Right now, we're keeping the lights on and the streets plowed. I don't know how much longer we can do that. We don't enlarge our community, get more housing in, more people paying taxes. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you for the information, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. All right. You know, other public, we got anybody online? All right, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, just a correction on regular agenda item number 1A, Health and Human Services. Veteran Services just should be deleted. It was just a rogue inclusion. There's some additional information on consent agenda items number 4A1 and 4A2. Those donations are designated to the Veterans Outreach. And then on the commissioner claim forms, on Commissioner Nelson's claim form, the Board of Equalization should not appear, but the regular meeting a month ago in Sandstone should appear. So the dollar amount is the same. The county auditor has the correct paperwork for the record, but the copy in the packet was just incorrect. So no dollar amount change, but just note that the Board of Equalization should not be included, and last month's meeting here in Sandstone, regular meeting, should be included.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of things to move from consent to the regular agenda. One is the promotion in the sheriff's office, and then the other one is the training request. We can move that to the regular agenda, please, for discussion.
All right, what was the first one?
Promotion in the sheriff's office,
There's,
or promotion of Henry Randa.
so on
Six, letter B.
6B. All right,
And then the training.
hold on, we gotta figure out where we're gonna put it.
We're gonna put them.
Let's put it to, under regular agenda. Let's put it under,
Mr. Chair,
yeah,
would you want to follow the Personnel Committee reports?
okay. Should we put it under the sheriff's office, C, like II, maybe?
Or do you want, for ease, do you want to do 1.1?
Yeah. So that'll go below C, right?
Yes.
1. And that'll be the,
You can put both there.
that'll be the promotion.
As I understand it, consent agenda number 6B will become item 1.1 on the regular agenda.
And then what was the other thing?
The training request for economic development.
7C.
Correct, 7C.
1.2.
Okay, so that could be 1.2.
Move the consent with those changes.
I'll second it.
What, you said the consent, Commissioner Nelson?
Yes.
We're doing the agenda. We're doing the whole agenda right now.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead. I moved the agenda with those changes.
Okay.
And I second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Okay. Now, approved minutes of July 1st, 2025 regular county board meeting and summary for publication and minutes of the July 8th, 2025 special meeting budget.
I'll move.
Sure.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Okay, and then on F, acknowledge the minutes of boards, committees, and correspondence. Pine County Surveyor's monthly report, June 2025, and Lassard Sands Outdoor Heritage Council notification letter and prop list.
I'll move that.
Okay. We got a motion, we got a second.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on them?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just discussion, you know, I mean, obviously on that letter, we're just getting their letter of application for some of these projects. But if you look through that and what's affecting in Pine County, I got some concerns about some of those projects. And so we'll just leave it there, you know, because it's a long ways off. But
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Nelson, there is a public hearing in August. And if individuals or if the board as a whole wanted to take action, you know, you could do that before the public hearing and submit comments.
thanks.
So with that, we would do that at a board meeting?
Presumably, and if Commissioner Nelson wants to kind of share between now and the next board meeting, you know, his concerns and make a report to the board and have discussion, either the first or second meeting in August. I think either meeting in August meets the public hearing deadline.
How about the second meeting?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. And then we can send a letter or whatever. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you for that. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, consent agenda with the modifications.
I'll move consent.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, regular agenda, personnel committee. You wanna take a man or you want me to do it?
Second.
You wanna do personnel or you want me to do it?
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. You're right.
I can take it if you want, but.
Yeah, no, I'll work on it. So Health and Human Services, Veteran Services, approved updated registered nurse job description and revised job description with the reflected supervision by HHS supervisor outside of the public health unit will remove references to the licensed practical nurse LPN role as it is no longer in use and will include updated terminology to align with current standards in the social services public health fields. The changes will not affect the positions grade or pay. Approve reclassification of the grade 11 public health nurse in the social services unit due to the Pine County ending its care coordination portion of the Blue Cross Blue Shield agreement in September 2025. The impacted position and incumbent employee will transition to the providing case management for waivered services by not requiring the public health nurse certification. The position can be reclassified from a grade 11, the pay range of 31.14 to 41.28 an hour, to a grade 10 social worker with a pay range of 29.38 to 38.95 an hour, and will align with other waivered services case managers within the Health and Human Services Department per the labor agreement. There will be no immediate change to the employee's pay. The employee will not receive any step increases, but could qualify for cost of living increases if so awarded. I'm gonna just stop there. So this was, what happened was it was a couple years ago. We had to change this job description to align with our waivered services with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And this is one of them where, and Roger, you were there, right?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, maybe you
Fill in. So usually when there's a regrade, typically everything goes up. In this case, a little unusual, the regrade, actually the position went down. So that's what we're approving. However, the person that's in that position is gonna be held harmless in the sense of, until eventually they catch up to that. But that's what this is.
They're below that step anyway, is that what you're saying? Or they're at that step?
It has nothing to do with the step, it has to do with the pay.
The grade, I mean.
Yes, they're getting paid at grade 11,
Yeah.
even though the job will now be a grade 10 job
Yeah.
in the future. So they're gonna be this, and
But if a new person came in.
Yes.
they'd be paid at grade
yeah.
10.
So one of the unusual things where the grade goes down, which is good
Yeah.
for the county financial.
And they weren't at the top of their.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're still gonna get their steps like.
And this, like I said, it was one of these that it did go up because of the extra work they were doing. Now it went down because this got canceled or whatever we quit doing this extra work. So it was just, it does just kind of show that sometimes the work goes up, sometimes work goes down, the grade goes up, the grade goes down. So it was, you talked a little bit about that. So, I was kind of impressed, and maybe with this, let's just do this one separate and then we'll go on to the other one. So I'm gonna make a motion for this one. And we'll just get this one done. So I'll move Personnel Committee Report AI and AII. Okay, is there any other discussion on them, Pete? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. And then to move on to solid waste, acknowledge the resignation of part-time solid waste technician James Melvin, effective June 21st, 2025. Backfill is not requested at this time, as current staff will absorb the vacant shifts. And in Sheriff's Office, acknowledge the retirement of investigator Richard East, effective July 31st, 2025. Backfill, this position is not requested at this time. With that, I will make a motion for them to as well.
Second that motion with the acknowledgements.
Okay, is there any other discussion on them too?
I have a discussion.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Commissioner Nelson for filling in for me because I had another meeting to go to, so stick it in here where I can.
Yep, not a problem. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same thing. All right, now we will move on to the promotion of Henry. So I gotta switch back here and get the information. I'll pass it. Oh, done. So, promotion of deputy sheriff trainee Henry Arata to deputy sheriff grade 10. Maybe I can do this. You have the information needed? Oh, okay.
All right, and Jackie is online and Sheriff Nelson is here if you want discussion or if there's a particular question that Commissioner Waldham had. It's start with that too.
So I guess here's, approve the promotion of Henry Rada from deputy sheriff trainee grade 8, $26.90 an hour to deputy sheriff grade 10, $31.47 an hour, effective 7/21/2025.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So do you remember when this went through personnel? I was struggling too, but I had a conversation with Dave before the meeting because I was wondering about it myself. But it all came back to me when there was a deputy that resigned or whatever left, and there was an opening. And then when they came to our personnel and they said, well, what we'd like to do is to start a trainee so we have a student so that we can have them here go through stuff and they train while they're a student in getting their post board license. Remember that? And then they weren't going to fill that position right away and just, use that. And then they can kind of test a person and get to know the person to see if they're a good fit or not through that process. So then, but the opening was there already, which I did not remember that part of it. So that's what my concern was. So it's not a new hire. It's just, we're filling a gap. They had a chance to look at this employee and see if that employee works. That's up to them to explain how that happened. But that was our model that we agreed to and we approved it when we moved it at a personnel some months back. So that's all I can add right now.
Okay. Are you making a motion for it then?
Yeah, I will move it.
Okay. I'll second it. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion. On the open positions backfill and new portion of this, there isn't an open position listed though. That's what made me question this. And then I was wondering, I think you answered who's being replaced. And how many other candidates put in for this position?
I don't know, we'd have to have.
Was there a hiring committee and then how many other candidates?
All right, so the position that's being backfilled, I think, was end of late last year, beginning of spring. I can't remember when the deputy left to go to another position. So at that time, we did a deputy posting and took applications. Then we decided that we were going to look at a current employee, and we did a internal posting because they were working in the jail and going through school, so they couldn't apply for the first one. But they were able to apply for the deputy in training position, which allowed them to get through school, pass the licensing testing, and is now eligible to be hired. And that's what we'd like to move forward with.
I remember the discussion I believe we had back in January this was not to circumvent the hiring process and the taking in other applicants, like if you're going to hire a position, you want to get the most qualified person.
Certainly.
Yeah. I think that was a question that we discussed when the board approved the trainee position. So there wasn't any other candidates at all then. This is the only candidate. Right.
To be promoted, sure.
Okay, all right.
We hired this person to promote them to deputy.
He's been working in the jail.
Yeah.
He's going to school.
We hired them contingent them getting their post license, and then they would become a deputy. Yeah.
To shorten our training when he came on. And again, he was the most qualified for that to move forward.
Chair Moore?
Yeah.
A question for Sheriff Nelson. When you say shorten the training period, they don't have less training. They simply complete some or most of their training while they're in a trainee position. Is that,
Correct. He was
or it's
training,
at less cost to the
Yeah.
county?
performing other functions, including training that will shorten the deputy position itself, training time, before he's able to go on his own.
Yeah, on the job, OJT kind of, on the job training kind of.
Yeah, he still has some of that to do, but he, again, was able to get that in at the lower rate, perform other duties that the deputies weren't doing. So kind of a dual function benefit to the county.
Okay, so then the open positions, it's okay that then there wasn't anything listed on the open positions part of this, maybe Jackie would know that?
And Mr. Chair, I can maybe answer that.
Yeah.
There isn't, so having a deputy trainee is only an option when there is a deputy vacancy. And so the two positions are not counted separately. So if there's a deputy trainee, there's not, and there's a deputy spot, that is not a vacant deputy spot, that trainee would move into that spot. And then when there's no trainee, there would not be someone hired into that position unless there was a potential for them to move into a deputy slot.
Thanks, Dave.
I think, Mr. Chair, just to clarify future moving forward, then the expectation would be if we hire somebody for the trainee position, the expectation is unless they fail the trainee position, that they would move to be promoted. So when we think about big picture hiring for the, if we're going to increase or change staff, we need to be thinking about it at the trainee position, not at the promotion stage. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
And just to make one more comment on that, there is a time limit that someone can be a trainee. If they're hired as a trainee and they are not successful in completing their post-license requirements within, I don't know what that time limit is. But there's a limit that if they don't do that, then they're out of a job. Because the idea is that the transition, it's not a permanent fixture.
And I think this was approached to us at the Personnel Committee as maybe a unique, maybe not a unique. I don't think every time you hire a deputy, it's gonna be this way, correct?
I think it was unique, and again, in the competitiveness of hiring a law enforcement officer anymore. It's not unique in the big picture, unique to us in that we tried it this way to see how it worked because we had a good candidate. And people are literally getting offered jobs before they're done with school. And if you're not on the list of hiring somebody that's good and qualified and we had the benefit of having a working experience with them because they're already in the jail and all of that just led to the perfect scenario to try it this way. And I think the results have been good and expect nothing but really good things out of the candidate. He's shown himself to be a good hire. So I think it worked this time. Next time it might be different. Hopefully we won't have to have a posting until there's 200 people that want to be law enforcement. That's just not where we're at.
Yeah.
And we might be back with a different scenario and we might try something else next time around, but I do appreciate the fact that you looked at it and doing it this way. And I think it's been a good thing.
And that's, I think, what we're trying always different options, and I appreciate you coming to us with a different option and a different way of looking at it. And we ran with it and that's what we did. So, and hopefully it works out and we go forward. So, yeah.
Thanks for your clarification.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All the same thing. Okay, now the economic development coordinator training. Economic Development Coordinator Leslie Sauter to attend courses through International Economic Development Council for Certified Economic Development Certification and Entrepreneurship Development Professional Certification over the next 2 years online. Total costs, including exam fees, is $7,464, reduced to $6,035 due to some courses being waived based on relevant work experience partial funding of $5,000 is provided through the Initiative Foundation grant with a balance being paid by the 2025 Economic Development Budget.
So bottom line, it's costing
It's $1,035. With that, I will move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
And this, if I remember right, we're now sharing this position with the city of Pine City, right? Pine City sharing.
Mr. Chair,
They contract.
Contract, yeah.
we contract with the city of Pine City for economic development services.
So the cost of this training then is also going to be shared with the city of Pine City?
The city of Pine City contracts with us. They don't share. They
Yeah, so-
pay us. They pay us for services.
Yeah, similar to like if we contract for sheriff deputy, there's a cost of the contract on an hourly basis that's intended to cover all of the costs. They don't separately pay for items.
So the cities don't pay us for the cars or gas or anything like that. They just pay us a fee. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, so we'll move on to Transportation Committee meeting.
Go ahead, JJ.
Minutes here. We met transportation committee. We had somebody come up from township up north, had a sign that was in the, what was thought was a road right away. So we had a good discussion with our assistant county engineer, Aaron, to get some definition. And part of it was when Minnesota became a state, a property was used for roads. After 6 years, the road authority had a 66-foot right of way. In the absence of a plat or right of way purchase, the right of way is defined by use and a prescriptive right of way exists. Use is determined by several factors such as the back of the ditch, how far the snow storage goes, or where utilities are. It is not arbitrary, but is based on the finder of fact. Aaron is the finder of fact for Pine County. So we had a discussion with that gentleman. We didn't talk about any highway projects, did we, Steve, or anything else? That was pretty much
Just that. Pardon? It was just
pretty
that.
much that, yeah. So as of now, I think we have an understanding between the gentleman, the township and the county. And clarification on.
And I believe that some correspondence that followed was that right of way had been purchased on that land.
Correct. Yeah,
50-foot right of way, not a 33-foot. Or basically 100-foot right of way. No actions needed.
Okay. All right. Recognition of National Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week. Motion to acknowledge National Pretrial Probation and Parole Supervision Week. So we have some people in the crowd here. Are you guys coming up to say anything or? One of you or just all of you or? You didn't prep yet.
Director Fawcett.
He did? And he bailed on you this week or what?
I think they might, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
So I guess I would just like to recognize Director Fawcett and Supervisor Johnson for their leadership in probation. Additionally, we have two other career agents here with us today. Agent Toomey and Peterson. They have a high level of experience and leadership to help develop our staff, our younger staff within our department. And just their commitment to just all of our staff. I feel like our staff is highly committed to our clients here in Pine County. I've worked in the field of probation for 15 years and with many other agents and agencies in different roles that I've held. And I just truly believe that we have a high level of commitment to balancing our needs of community safety and the best interest of serving our clients here in Pine County. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you much, and thank all of you for the work you do. I think we're very fortunate to have people that kind of think outside the box, so to speak, and make things work and make Pine County a safer and a better place to live. So thanks.
It's interesting talking to Terry a lot about before I got on the board, and you hear about criminals and in Jeff's area, about people just want people in jail, you know, and jail doesn't always solve problems, you know, and jail sometimes just makes it worse. Not saying some people just need to be in jail, but just high supervision. And sometimes people just need some supervision and people to think, to care about them, honestly. And you guys, that's what you do and change a lot of people's lives. So I appreciate it. And especially in kids and adults, I mean, that is a big thing. So thank you for what you do and I appreciate it. So thanks. With that, we do need a motion.
I'll make that.
I'll move that, Mr. Chair, to recognize the.
Steve made it, you can
I'll
second. Did you have something? Okay. Is there any discussion? Any comments? Nothing? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing.
Thanks.
Thank you. Fiber optic joint powers termination agreement. Consider the approval of the fiber optic joint powers board termination agreement and authorize the board chair and county administrator to sign.
David, you can fill in the pieces probably, but I think I might know as much as anybody, but about 20 some years ago, actually before I was on the board, the city of Pine City, the school, Pine Technical College and the county entered into an agreement to put fiber optic cable between all the government entities in Pine City. And it's worked wonderfully. It did its job, and the job that it did is now over. And so we haven't really had a official meeting for probably 4 or 5 years. I don't know. It's been a while, right, David? And so I asked David why we keep appointing somebody to that joint powers board. We might as well eliminate it. If there comes a need to have one again, I guess we can form another joint powers board, but I think it's like having laws that mean nothing. If we're not doing something, we can take that one off our books. It was really a fantastic project in its day. There was no way to get communications between the entities. That was in the early days of the internet, and we were trying to do it by phone lines and everything else, and we actually buried fiber and put some conduit down Main Street when they were doing a reconstruct job, and entities were allowed to pull fiber through that for some rent to the city because it was their infrastructure. But I think it's time, it's over.
So we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. You have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? One discussion I had, did we have any money in it, or was it?
No, we really didn't.
Okay, it was just more like easement or something like
No,
that.
we gave advice. The
Time.
city invested
That's
some money.
priceless.
The city invested some money in the conduit.
Okay.
They recovered all of their money through a lease agreement with Midco.
Okay.
Was the biggest client they have that pulled fiber through that conduit. So they have been made whole now. Midco actually bought the assets.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and so they got some more money out of the deal, but we didn't have any cash invested, so we didn't get any cash back.
Mr. Chair, we didn't get any cash back, but we did get a 20-year use of the existing fiber. So
Yeah.
our current network through Midco our use of it was included in the city's agreement with.
So we are able to get to the county garage from the courthouse. They're on our network, like they're part of us.
Okay. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Okay, easement purchase. Greg, did you want to take this or do you want me just to run with it?
Either way, Kelly had me be here, but.
Okay. We just talked about this last week. These are on, so consider the authorization of purchase of 2 easements, on across PID 32.088.000 from Mark and Christine Bartel and Ryan Stefan for $2,500 ensuring access to the portion of tax forfeited land, PID 32.0097.000. So what these are is that 200 acres of forfeited land that we're gonna sell. We split it up into 3 different spots. These are ensuring that we have access to them coming up. So Greg secured these easements. He ensured that these are pretty decent prices for these easements. Gets access to them. So the value of them should be a lot better. If you got any questions, like Greg said, he's here. And that's what it is. So.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Okay. Health and Human Services. Mandate funding service delivery update. Real quick, Becky. Think you're gonna go past a half an hour?
Hope not to. Dave, give me 30 minutes.
All right, it should take how many minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. It's Roger's gotta leave at a certain time and we want to get this up on.
Okay. I will go as fast as I
No,
can.
you don't have to go as fast as you can. I
Don't
just.
worry about that.
No pressure, right?
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Becky Foss. I'm the Director of Pine County Health and Human Services, and it's just a privilege to be here today. And as your Health and Human Services Director, I also have the privilege of sitting in on the Health and Human Services Committee meetings. Commissioners Ludwig and Holland, who disappeared briefly, there he is, sit in on those meetings, and they do a phenomenal. At our last HHS committee meeting at the end of May, they asked me to do a presentation to the full county board regarding a couple of highlights in the HHS budget. So you can thank them for this presentation. Also, here's specifically what they are requesting and what I'm hoping to provide you with today. Number one, just a very high level overview of the funding that's received in Health and Human Services. The commissioners asked about levy versus non-levy resources. So you're going to see some pie charts. And they specifically asked, what does the tax levy help pay for? Additionally, they asked me to speak to some underfunded or unfunded mandates. So we have a lot to get through. We will make it quick. At the very end, I also want to succinctly and briefly speak to the impending federal and state changes, because just to get to the point, it doesn't bode well for our counties in Minnesota. And that's just something we should be aware of as we go through the budget process. Yes, okay. Anytime I talk about the Health and Human Services budget, I always talk about the 3 major divisions: income maintenance, social services, and public health. You can see there's a lot of programs in each area. I'm not going to hit each one, but there's many programs, but 3 major divisions. Okay, here is the 2025 Health and Human Services budget broken down by percentage, by division. And so you can see here that social services takes the biggest piece of a pie. That's a common theme you'll see in this presentation with everything that we do in Health and Human Services. Income maintenance is the runner-up. if you want to call it that, was a 29% of the budget. Public health is the smallest portion of the Health and Human Services budget. You'll see a very small sliver in our budget that's dedicated to the Children's Cabinet or Children's Collaborative. It is part of the Health and Human Services budget because we are the fiscal host for that cabinet or that collaborative, but it does not take or ask for any tax levy.
Real quick, what is that?
So the Children's Cabinet or the Children's Collaborative is a group of people, superintendents of each school, the probation director, myself, Sam Lowe is the public health director, SCRED director, and we come together, and the goal of that collaborative group is to really ensure that we're closing the gap between services. So right now, the Children's Cabinet pays for an early childhood resource coach. So anybody with kids under the age of 5, they can hook up with them and really help navigate resources if they need that. It's one of the things that's paid for, and it also pays for the cultural community coach.
Thank you.
One of the highlights that I just really want to impress upon the county board is that tax levy is just one of the sources of funding with Health and Human Services. In the 2025 budget, you can see here, the biggest piece of this pie chart is actually non-levy. And we'll go a little deeper into that in future slides, but that's just a common theme you're going to see throughout this presentation. You may be asking yourself, where does the tax levy go that Health and Human Services receives? The biggest portion, far and away, is in social services. That pays for things like out-of-home placements, does not meet level of care, underfunded, unfunded mandates, staff, all those things. The second runner-up, I should say, is income maintenance. They get the next biggest portion of tax levy, and the smallest portion of tax levy of 5% goes to public health. Now we're going to go through each one of these divisions so you can see in each division, how much of that division has of levy versus non-levy. And we're going to hit some of the services so you can see some of the things that the levy pays for. So in income maintenance, again, a common theme, the non-levy resources that we pull in from federal, state, and other sources, grants, allocations, is really outpacing the levy. Income maintenance includes the eligibility worker staff. So they determine eligibility for programs like food support or SNAP, medical assistance, those programs. We have a fraud investigator, and we also have child support staff. And you can see their reimbursement rates at what they usually get between 50 and 55% for financial assistance or eligibility workers and support staff. And child support is reimbursed at about 2/3. We do have a collections officer that isn't mandated, but this is a common thing across the state, is that counties have collections officers because what they can bring into the agency outpaces the cost, and it helps pay for unfunded or underfunded mandates for less reliance on local tax levy, which is really what we want to try to get to. For income maintenance, the tax levy helps pay for a lot of things, so it's definitely needed. It helps pay for the unreimbursed portions of staffing and training costs, laptops, those kind of things. It pays for the unreimbursed portions of rent and legal fees. It pays for 100% the 100% cost of county burials, and that is an unfunded mandate that we'll take a closer look at later. It also pays for 100% of the administrative costs for non-emergency medical transportation. That is also something that we are required to offer. The reason why we contract that service out is because if we did it in-house, we would really need an FTE to do that, and it's cheaper to contract it out, and it's more efficient to contract it out. So that's why we do that. Here's a closer look at the statutory language with county burials. You can see here, it's about a paragraph long. It doesn't give a lot of detail. It just says counties are going to do this, and there is no funding attached to this. So this is a common thing that we see in Health and Human Services, is there are these vague statutes. This one's not too bad because at least it's digestible. A couple months ago, you may remember I spoke with you about MAFPA that's coming in 2027. That statute and accompanying rules are more than 10 pages. So at least this is more digestible, but it doesn't say exactly what we have to offer. That we do have to pay for this And so it's really important that we have good relationships with our county partners in the region, because we do try to align our policies with what other people are doing.
I mean, Becky, how many of those on average do we do a year? 20?
Over 20. It's up to over 20. And
So I just had a conversation with, guy from Metfin. I asked, how much do you lose? He says, $3,000 every year. Even with what we upped it, what, $100 last year? Or 300.
350 in the last 2 years.
Anyway, just trivia.
And they have to do them too?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what they're required to do. I know what we're required to do.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
if Becky were to flip back to that statute, they are not required to provide services.
Okay.
The county is required to provide,
Yeah.
and we do that through arrangements with local funeral homes.
Okay.
And, appreciate the goodwill in the situation.
Looking at the 2025 Income Maintenance Division budget of Health and Human Services, you can see there about 3 million is budgeted for personnel costs, salary and wages. And you can see it broken down there into financial assistance staff and administration, and then 4D stands for child support, so child support staff. The unreimbursed portions of those numbers are roughly 1.3 million. Yet the tax levy that we request for this area of the budget in 2025 was under 1.3 million. So how we're able to do that is we pull in reimbursements and we seek grants and allocations for what we can. And we really try to do that for less reliance on the local tax levy. That's really important to me and the team here. Taking a closer look at rent, and maybe I'm doing this because this might be just a little bit of a sore point for me. In 2024, Health and Human Services paid a little over $154,000 to the county for space, so the space that we utilize. If we break that rent down into each of its divisions, income maintenance, social services, and public health, you can see the numbers there. Really, the only reimbursement we get for paying rent is about 50% of the portion that we pay for income maintenance. So we might get about $27,000 reimbursement for what we expend for rent. For social services, we may get 10%, but it's really not much. And what's difficult is that number to me represents maybe a 3/4 FTE. And for public health, the rent costs and things like laptops, those are 100% tax levy. So I don't have any other sources of reimbursement for those things. Moving on to social services, as indicated earlier, this is the biggest portion of the Health and Human Services budget. And it also takes the most levy. And you can see here that their piece of the pie of levy is 36% versus the non-levy, which is 6%. Everything we do in social services is mandated, with the exception of the licensed independent clinical social worker. However, you have some interest in having an LICSW on board because, as outlined in statute, you are the local mental health authority. And it is your responsibility as the county board to develop and coordinate a system of affordable and locally available adult mental health services, which is really what we're trying to do. There's quite a few funding sources in social services. Tax levy helps to pay for a lot. We're going to go through that in a little bit. And really the big takeaway for you for social services is that the mandated children's services, like as children's mental health and child protective services, your licensors, those are significantly underfunded. And that is just going to get worse as we go along with the new law that's coming into effect in 2027. I don't want to go through each of these because each of you can read and you can see there, but we have a lot of sources of other funding in social services. So Pat's team, aging and disabilities, all the waivered services case managers and mid-choice assessors pretty much have their positions funded through third-party reimbursement. Our adult mental health case managers and the adult mental health team who work the front line also have their salaries pretty much paid for in what we can get from revenue from third-party insurance billing, for example, and from grants and allocations. Here's where it gets tricky, is we have 3 children's mental health staff. So last year, they pulled in a little over $150,000 in case management revenue. So that does not cover 3 staff. Licensing, we had 1.5 FTEs. They earned about $8,500 in fees last year. So again, this is work that we're required to do, yet the funding is not there. So this would be an underfunded mandate that we have. And the kicker in all of it really is child protection. So in child protection, there are some support staff, but I have just listed out the social workers in this bottom bullet. We have 4 investigators, 6 case managers, and 1 intake worker. So 11 social workers. That group ended up receiving about a little over $95,000 in revenue last year. And so the reimbursement levels are very low. So what we really try to do is keep caseloads low to try to reduce expenses on the other end and keep kids in the home whenever possible.
Question. And I'm guessing you could probably use some more staff in some of these. I mean, I'm guessing they're probably understaffed already.
Yes, and I think the hard thing is there's so much pressure in each of the divisions is where do you start? I will say we are very concerned internally about about MAFPA because it is going to require more worker time, more work period, and more expenditures really when it comes down to it. That active efforts is a big bar to meet in non-active efforts cases right now. So we're in trouble.
Are these state or federal or both mandated?
Both. The funding that
Mandated or thing, I guess all the above.
I guess it's really what's unique about Minnesota, and we'll talk about this more a little bit later, is that the counties administer the program. So that doesn't happen like that in every state. I think we're only 1 of 10 states who chooses to go that route. And so, yeah.
I keep thinking about that, Becky. So if you're in a state that the state does this,
Mhm.
we wouldn't be having this conversation about we have to levy X amount of dollars. The state would have to worry about that, right?
Absolutely.
And me and Dave were just having this conversation yesterday. There's no doubt about it that I think locally we can do it better. But locally we're paying for it too is the other issue, you know? So if we were being reimbursed on it, is the only bad thing. I think it's, you know, the frustrating part is if we had the funds to do it, even at this level. But if the state was doing it at this level, it would probably cost them double what it costs us. And that's where I don't understand how they don't see that, you know, if they just funded us at this level, it's still saving them a ton of money.
Or even if instead of 60%, they.
Well, right now, you're probably at 10%. I mean, really,
It's true. I also think you have to ask, I think there's going to be a day of reckoning in Minnesota, so to speak, of if this is the continued way that we should be doing it, because it is just going to get more expensive, both with the state and federal changes that are coming up. So I think that is a question that should be debated really among commissioners and really at the AMC level. What are our next steps and how do we move forward? I think what I struggle with both personally and professionally is knowing I live, work, and play in Pine County. And how would I feel if somebody from St. Paul or Minneapolis came and tried to come into my home and tell me how to parent my kids or try to determine eligibility for services, or how are they going to know where food shelves are? I think that would be difficult.
Yeah.
There's a trade-off.
You have a question? Okay. Did you have something?
Wait.
Thank you.
Yes. So the big question had at the committee meeting is what are our unfunded or underfunded mandates, and what does the tax levy really help to pay for? So I really took some time to list out the big ticket items that the tax levy pays for in social services. So right out of the gate, it's out-of-home placements for children. That's almost all tax levy. Right after that, in 2026, we had to increase this line item to 250,000. It's the does not meet level of care. Those are individuals who have been committed to, for an example, Anoka Metro Regional Hospital. And they no longer require that level of care, yet we can't find a place for them. So every day that they no longer meet the level of care, but they're there, that costs us about $1,500 to $2,000 a day. So we are very motivated to ensure that we can find placements, but placements don't always exist for individuals with extreme challenges. Tax levy also helps to pay for active and reasonable efforts for preserving and reunifying families. And as we look ahead to MAFPA coming down the line in 2027, that's going to become more expensive, not less expensive. You always have the personnel costs, phones, laptops, training, all those things. We do some contracts for guardianship services. The reason why we contract that out for adults who may need that service is because we do it more efficiently and we can do it less expensively that way for less reliance on the tax levy, period. Levy helps pay for rent and legal costs, clinical supervision for our children's mental health staff and adult mental health staff. That's an unfunded mandate. That's something we're required to do. On-call services for child protection. We have an on-call worker all the time. And again, salary is not covered by other grants and reimbursements. Commissioner Ludwig, do you have a question? Maybe not. Okay. So moving on to public health. So public health is the winner as far as needing the least amount of tax levy in their budget. So 90% of the public health budget is non-levy dollars, 10% is levy dollars. Here are the statutory requirements of public health as listed in 145A. It's pretty much two big ticket items is you have to have a community health board and you have to have a community health services administrator or public health director. So you as the county board serve as the community health board. So that's covered. And Sam Lowe is our community health services administrator. So you meet those statutory requirements. You're also required under statute to try to hit those 6 things. The beautiful thing about public health is it doesn't necessarily say how you do it. It provides you the framework and you get to do a lot of dancing within that framework, which is really the neat thing about public health. So we are required, or you as the county board are required to assure an adequate local public health infrastructure, promote healthy communities, prevent the spread of communicable diseases, protect against environmental hazards, emergency preparedness, and there's something that we call the CHA-CHIP, which is the Community Health Assessment Plan and the Community Health Improvement Plan. So how do we do that here in Pine County? As far as your adequate public health infrastructure, you have a community health services administrator and you have a public health supervisor, so you meet those requirements. We do engage in emergency preparedness. We do that right now with the grants, which is wonderful. We do participate in the CHA-CHIP process, and that's done with Sam and Jessica and their team. And we also promote healthy communities, and we do a lot of that work through grants and third-party reimbursement for less reliance on the local tax levy. So what does a levy pay for in public health? So the levy of almost $200,000 pays for the community health services administrator position. It pays for 100% of the rent that we pay to the county in the public health division. We don't get any reimbursement for that. It also pays for some training and other personnel costs not covered by grants. And then we also, public health is in the rotation for new laptops in 2026. So it also helps to offset the cost of new laptops. Some of you are familiar with this chart. It just, in a summary, goes over the different, our tax levy increase over the last few years, last 5 years. And HHS has seen an increase in tax levy of a little over $118,000. Now moving on to some good stuff. This is the future stuff that I've alluded to in this presentation and some things that we've already talked about at a county board level. So the 2026 budget is going to be very hard. It's going to be a very difficult process. It's been difficult making the numbers try to work in health and human services. 2026 is a cakewalk compared to what 2027 and 2028 are going to hold for health and human services and for local governments. And here's why. In 2027, you have MAPPA coming down from the state. So we have to be in compliance with a MAPPA effective 1/1/2027. And it's really hard to build up for that when you're just struggling to keep the staff that you have, much less trying to add staff. 2027, also at a state level, there will likely be cost shifts from the waivered services. So that didn't happen this legislative session. It is on the table for 2027 if the state if DHS can't figure out and counties can't figure out how to start saving money in waivered services. So although I'm hopeful that there are going to be ways that we can do that, I do think that gap is too large, and I think we're going to be seeing some local costs related to waivered services. When the numbers were flying around, when this first became a possibility for Pine County, I believe it was 4 to 5% tax levy increase just for that cost shift. So that's something to keep an eye on. In 2027 and 2028, at the federal government level, we're going to see some changes in SNAP. So there's going to be two big changes in SNAP. The first thing is the federal government is doing a cost shift. So right now, the federal government pays for about 50% of the administrative cost of SNAP. That's going down to 25%. So the state and locals are going to pick up 75%. So in Minnesota, with the way we run our programs, that means locally we can expect to see a tax levy increase. There was some information put out by AMC that in Pine County, we are likely to see or could see best estimates. So this is, not a for sure thing, but it is an estimate, 4.2 to 4.4% tax levy increase just for SNAP, just for those changes that are coming for SNAP. The second change that is coming to SNAP, in addition to some extra administrative requirements, is it looking at the payment error rate. So if the error rate is higher than 6% in any state, there's going to be an expense to the state for the benefits that are paid through that program. So that is also very concerning. Right now, the state of Minnesota is at a 9% error rate, 8.98% fiscal year 2024. So if things don't improve, we could also see the cost shift there.
Unless you're Alaska. Unless you're Alaska.
Unless you're Alaska, and if your error rate is horrible, then you're afforded another year.
Yeah.
There are also changes coming to Medicaid and medical assistance. If you are on Medicaid right now, you're going to be required to turn in more information. In 2029, there will be monthly address checks. That is a huge administrative burden for counties who do this work. And that's something that nobody is really clocking or tracking at a federal level, is the administrative burdensome requirements that are being added. So even if in Pine County, let's just say 5,000 people are on medical assistance and 1,000 people are no longer going to meet criteria for being on medical assistance, and you still have to serve 4,000 people. If you're doing 2 to 3 times as much work for that 4,000 people, you're still doing more work. And so the federal government may be saving money on the benefits, but we locally are going to have to keep up with the demand and the burdens of doing that extra work. And so that is a concern. I do have a flyer from AMC, and pass one down. I just want to turn your attention to the back page of that, because they have listed estimates of what the SNAP benefits could cost certain counties in each congressional district. And so that's just really eye-opening. And the concerning thing, the SNAP is just one program that the county runs. And that's just one program that Health and Human Services administers. So it's just something to keep an eye on, and something that we need to prepare for as we move in the next few years. So overall summary, because that's a lot of information to take in. So I want to hit some high points for you. We do rely on Health and Human Services on tax levy, but it's not the only source of income that we have, and it's not the biggest source of income that we have. It's one of many. The highest amount of tax levy that utilizes for our social services division, and it helps pay for things like out-of-home placements. We work really hard, and I have a shout out to my team. I believe it's on the next slide, but we all work really hard, and it's important to us that we capture every bit of dollar outside of tax levy. And that's something that we're constantly trying to get better at. And we've done a really good job. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a tax levy increase of about $118,000, which is really remarkable when salaries have gone up sometimes as much as 5 to 6% each year. Something to keep an eye on, and something that is really important to be talking about at the AMC level or with your fellow commissioners, is what the state and federal landscape are looking like. Very tumultuous, and that's all going to require a reliance on local funding sources, which we should all be concerned about. And really, it is difficult for me to foresee a 2026, 2027 and beyond budget that can be balanced without an increase in tax levy. And either continue to use the reserves, and we know that's not a sustainable long-term option. It's just not going to cut it, or personnel costs. And I know my team and I have been working since January when there was a threat of immediate federal funding loss. How are we going to do this? And so we have been working hard together over the last several months, trying to figure out plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And so it just is really important for me to take a moment and thank them. You can see here, they've been here a long time, and I am so appreciative of them and all that they do. Was it less than 10 minutes? Any questions?
I have one, but it's kind of big picture.
Big picture, okay.
Oh, when we saw the census data, I can't remember the numbers, but there's less children being born into this system of things, over time. But we have a population aging out, which I know in our meetings, we've seen the strain that's happening in your offices on the elder.
Yeah, the aging. Mhm.
Do you, and I know there's been a drop in out-of-home placement. So do you think that there's a correlation to less kids, or is it just, it's not, I mean, so if the trend is gonna be less kids, there should be less strain on social services. But I don't know if that's a true dynamic or not.
So I will say, when I look back over the last 10 years, there's certainly been a reduction in the number of child protection reports we've received. There's certainly been a lesser number of CHIPS petitions that are filed with the court, CHIPS for child in need of protection or services. So yes, we are seeing that. However, I think if we ever get to the point where we only have 3 or 4 out-of-home placements, we should be concerned, because we really need to make sure we're also keeping kids safe. I don't think it's ever going to get that low in this field work that I've
Do you think you're missing something?
Yeah, we're missing.
That's based on past history, right?
Yes. I also think as it's been remarkable, the work that's been done with out-of-home placements and just how that's really gotten down over the last several years. It's exciting to see. It's exciting to be a part of. What we're also seeing is our expenses related to mental health and adults are going up.
So I was gonna go next.
Yep.
And then I think what's so important and I kind of know it's just from working, but it only takes 1 or 2 cases to bust the entire budget.
Absolutely.
And that's and you never know when they're coming at you.
Yeah. It's not uncommon if you have a child in residential treatment to pay about $8,000 a month for their care. And that's less than what we would pay for an adult who maybe doesn't meet level of care, but is in a treatment center because we can't find a group home or some kind of residential facility for them outside of that. Very expensive.
Well, thank you.
You.
Thanks,
Appreciate that. That was kind of a nice little,
Hearing it enough, we'll understand it.
we'll get it figured out. So, thanks.
Thanks, Becky.
All right, well, Roger, we're gonna go into commissioner updates. We're gonna do the library first.
Okay, great. Maybe I can cover, I got 2 on there.
Okay.
Cover mental health,
Yeah,
chemical health, and then the library.
whichever one you wanna do.
Chemical health, real short. We had a very short meeting not a lot of people, not a lot to discuss this particular time, other than programs are, progressing and working on the fall programming and such. So that was all that's a report there. Library, we did have a budget meeting yesterday. I would say, originally, with the first pass through, our levy ask was going to increase by about 40,000. After that was from a month ago, then we asked the executive director to come back with 3 different proposals of, because everybody thought, you know how it is. And came back with 3 different proposals of a budget increase of 0, 2.5, and a 5%. After a lot of discussion and back and forth, we settled, not necessarily unanimously, but with an agreement on a 0% increase budget overall. Now, what does that mean to Pine County? Because everybody looks at, what does this mean to each one of the 6? And because of the funding formula in Pine County's usage, tax levy, all those sort of things, we got hit this year with last year was Aiken. This year it's Pine with a bigger share of the formula. So with that 0% overall budget increase, our actual levy that they're asking for goes down by about $6,000. So, and the one county is pretty much at even, but every county saw a decrease, some much more. And in order to achieve that, though, we had to go into fund balance, use some of that. There's still pretty healthy fund balance. Don't get me wrong. Had to look at a few other things and some possible staff reductions in hours, but minor. But here was the caveat in order to be able to get agreement to go this low, was to say that every county has the option to buy back a few more hours. So if you got a big levy, because we all have to live and die by the same agreement. So if your county got a big reduction, then you could use some of that monies to buy back some hours. If that was important to you and you could tailor them to a specific. So we thought this is a good compromise because it provides a bit more of a local control. If we in Pine County find that there's just a hole somewhere, we're able to locally take care of that option, but at the same time, sort of keeping our levy overall in check, because we've got some big holes to fill, and we need everybody doing their share. So I was overall pleased with the give and take that we had to come to this compromise. So.
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Safe
Yeah.
driving.
Thank you. All right, Northeast Minnesota Area Transportation.
Yes, we had a meeting last week. When it went all right, it's a lot of, at this time of year, just updates from MnDOT on projects that are going on. We know when you drive the freeway, there's one going on here in Pine County. And probably the one thing that the Northeast has is they have these trail counters, and Mark is gonna get some of those to put on our trails just to see if we can get some trail counts on the walking and biking trails that we have, like around Cross Lake, and just see where we're at. Anyway, that's about it for now.
Okay. Soil and water. I don't think anybody made it to that. Kettle River canceled. Transportation study. Waldam, did you make it?
No, I did not.
Interestingly, because I was on the state committee that did some work on these alternative forms of transportation. I got an invite, so I dialed into it. And there's actually some really interesting things. It's long range, kind of futuristic thing. But the thing that always catches my attention is our autonomous driving vehicles going to be the answer in the future for the Pine counties of the world for transportation for people like me who can't drive anymore. Think about that. If you could call an Uber that didn't require a driver to show up in my driveway, and I had 5 minutes to get in that car and get buckled up, and they took me to the address that I told it, and it did not require a driver. How awesome would that be? And will it happen by July of next year? No, definitely not. But, things that I think about is if you put my address in your GPS and start driving to my home in 2025, you might end up in the St. Croix River because it doesn't recognize my address for some reason. And we've probably all had that, event happen where somebody gives the address to their house and 90% of the time it works absolutely perfect. And then there's that one time where it goes, it just keeps going around and around. But anyway, that's the thing that captures my mind. There's a lot of work with the Arrowhead transportation companies of the world to make things easier to take public transportation, for instance, from Sandstone, Minnesota to St. Cloud, if that's where you had to go. And right now you can't do it. But if we can get these transfers figured out where you go from Arrowhead to Timber Trails to TriCap, it could happen. Again, that's you need the problem is we're very non-densely populated. So they put a trial program in, and 6 people in 6 months use the service. They have to quit because it's not high enough volume of traffic. But anyway, it's interesting.
Extension Committee, I think you made it to that.
We met at the Farmer of the Year Award winner, which is just east of Hinckley, Kelvin Harth. Very interesting fella, and all the things he's done to make his farm a multi-generational farm where his grandkids can walk around and see 47 species of birds and 47 different trees, and he's quite a guy. But anyway, the thing that came out of it, Becky mentioned SNAP. The SNAP educator for Pine City received her layoff notice, and so we will no longer, as of August 25th or something, have a SNAP educator. And she's done a tremendous amount of work with the people who are SNAP recipients in educating them in the, if you get a box of food from the food shelf, for instance, or you take your card and you can buy strawberries because they happen to be really on sale right now, what you can do with them to preserve them and stretch that dollar as far as you can. All SNAP educators in the state of Minnesota received their layoff notices. So that it's a real thing that's happening.
Yeah, and I know like in Pine County, she worked in Hinckley Central and North. She wasn't in Pine City because we didn't have enough.
Free and reduced lunch count wasn't high enough, right up.
And I always argued that.
Yeah, I know,
But It was,
But-
because I thought she did really good work.
She does really
Yeah.
good work, but
Yeah,
we're gonna not have her
Yeah.
anymore. So.
yeah. But, so that's too bad. East Central Solid Waste.
Oh, geez.
You're doing them all.
Too. We did that yesterday. That's moving along. We're probably looking at, contracting with some people who have trucking companies to help us out in the times when we get overloaded. We have a hard time hiring on drivers. It's just a competitive world and maybe to fill those gaps when we need an extra truck for a week or 3 days, we can do that through contract help. But the new cell is just about ready to start having garbage put in it, so that's good news.
Do you guys have a new director now?
Yes,
Full-time
John
director?
Kellish.
Okay.
Kellish.
Another one's gone?
And she's still working there,
Okay.
but she's assigned, she's just doing the financial stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. She's on a phased retirement.
All right, is there any other updates anybody had? Any other to come before the board?
I was told, Sturgeon Lake and some lakes of Pine County were mentioned on Jeopardy, the Jeopardy question. It's kind of a fun thing. I don't know if anybody else heard that.
Yeah. We're watching.
Oh, you're glad.
Geez, I was gonna have to start watching Jeopardy.
Yeah, Sturgeon Lake.
Otherwise, take a peek at your upcoming meetings.
Can I make a note on the
Yes.
upcoming meetings? So the next board meeting, August fifth, is going to include a significant portion of budget presentations. So just check your calendar and I would expect we would run into the afternoon on August fifth.
All right. Thanks.
All right, otherwise we'll declare